so we're gonna start the video.
Nationalize the voting.
Well, Van Jones and Gretchen Carlson are here. So, Van, let's just start with Tulsi Gabbard here first. She's on site, and she's supposed to be dealing with international security threats, right? So her presence there is already...
Okay, I'm sorry to say. Now, see, they frame it as she got no business worrying about national security inside the United States. She's outside the United States. That's the frame of the question, of the statement.
The lady is outside the U.S. Is that what you're saying?
No. The announcer says, "This is." Can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
That's Tulsi Gabbard. All right, she's the national security advisor.
All right.
National. This announcer says her job is not to deal with internal security.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That's how she's already framing the situation. All right.
Right.
And the event itself, in an already many times investigated election in which there was no fraud in Georgia, is inexplicable. And
now she's saying this has already been investigated many times. So why are you going back here? Truth be told, it was never fully investigated because the perpetrators were in charge. So you needed Trump and his administration to get into power to investigate it, but they don't want that. This is CNN.
Now we know Trump spoke to the agents on speakerphone who are doing the search. What's going on?
Nothing good. Nothing good. Look, we have
Van Jones.
Terrorist enemies of the United States are not watching the news and don't realize that the head of our security is fooling around in shoeboxes full of old, outdated ballots as opposed to making sure that we're safe. If there is a major terrorist incident in the United States, there's going to be hell to pay. What are they doing? What does this have to do with the security of the United States?
National elections is not important to Vance Jones. Stolen election is not. That's what he's saying. You know, they over here doing a investigation into 2020. They should be focusing on things that don't affect the Democrats.
Well, the thing is, let me say this here. I mean, if you, that's one of the ways the enemy can take over through the election. I mean, how can you miss that?
Because it's going to make the Democrats look bad. Look, they will burn down the House to keep Trump out of power. Shot him. What it was, 5 criminal charges and civil charges, 3 attempted assassination. But yet they will burn down the House to save their hide.
Wouldn't that be considered like subversion? You know what I'm saying? If they steal election, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I'm like, oh, we need to be looking for gun toters, not not these kind of money.
Exactly.
Okay.
Election stuff. And the president of the United States should be doing other things besides cheering on the FBI agents who are being distracted with this nonsense.
Right, and calling actually, he said those comments, Gretchen, to Dan Bongino, who had just left, right, of the FBI, and is now back in his job as a host. So it was to him that he said Republicans should take over the voting in at least 15 places. What does that mean?
And where are the Republicans standing up today saying, absolutely, that should never happen, because when it turns around and Democrats are in power, how would we feel?
I will agree with her on that. As a conservative, I do not want the federal government controlling the elections due to that. And when I deal with, my doctor is from India and different ones, they don't understand the separation of power that we have in the United States. The sheriff in your county is elected by the people. To the police department, you have to elect the mayor, who then has a police chief. So you have separation of power right there. So if the police chief is doing bad, I can go to the sheriff. If the sheriff is doing bad, I can go to the police chief. It's not that interconnected family, type of thing generally. So I understand what Trump says, but I might not agree with his policy. I disagree if he said or believed that nationalizing elections is going to do it. What I want is oversight. What I want in not like this, investigations follow, because whoever get into power, if they federalize elections, that's just another layer that you can't get through as a citizen.
Let's define federalizing election before you begin.
Okay, so
what does that mean?
All right, in 50 states, you have 50 different election boards. The states run elections. Federalizing, it'd be Washington, D.C.
Okay, Washington, D.C. will be controlling the elections in 50 states.
Yes.
Overseeing.
Yes. Right now, they oversee it through different laws and through different mechanism, but all the ballots and everything else is set up by the state. Remember, go back to 2003, 2004. Well, no, it'll be, what is it, the 2000 when Bush and Gore had the election, and it went haywire down here in Florida because they had to punch ballots and they couldn't tell who voted and all that kind of stuff. So Florida tried to re-up it. It went bad again in 2004, but not as bad. It wasn't. But go ahead.
I was going to say, would this be federalizing it if they say, okay, this is the standard for elections everywhere, meaning like, you know, like you said, each state have different rules. Just make one rule for everybody. With that, do you see that as bad?
I don't see that as well. There are guidelines, just like okay, highway. The highways are interstate, so the department, the federal department, you know, the Department of Transportation, DOT, nationalized, but every state have their own DOT. But the way the federal government regulates them is to travel interstate, you have to follow certain guidelines for licensing. You see what I'm saying? So the federal government is not out there for the most part enforcing speed limits. You got me. But what they do is they say, okay, if you don't go by this regulation or this pattern, then we're going to cut your funding. States say, wait, hold up, we need that money. So if you're saying that, that is different.
So basically, they're saying the international or
interstate,
speed is 70 miles an hour.
Right.
So that's everywhere. As long as you're not in the city limits, there's other situations that cause you to drive slower, then you can't be giving somebody a ticket for 60 miles an hour.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
What they do is they set the guidelines, but if you go out to Arizona, it's 100 miles an hour on certain roads, or it's no speeding limit, but they will give you a ticket for driving erratically. You see what I'm saying? You go out to those states with no limit on it, they'll still get you if you drive like a maniac. You know, you zooming through traffic, but the top speed is not there. Go ahead.
Okay, so I know not to get too deep in the weeds with the traffic law, but is that a federal law that if Arizona you can drive 100 miles an hour? Is that what law governs?
No. That's to get the grants and different things. You can set. They give you what do you call it? They give you guidelines, and Arizona, they're within the guidelines. They just don't set an upper limit. But most states, just like 55 was set, you know, for across state, you know, interstate. I had to look into it, but yeah, that's federal, you know. And then the states, they vote on it, and then they, you know, the county set theirs through the state and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's how it works. So what I'm saying is, if the elections, parts of the election, and we would have to get into the weeds of it, have to look up the law and that sort of thing. It is oversight by the federal government. But like I said, another way in, all right, back when Clinton was in power and Obama, the big push was to nationalize the ID card. It took a Republican to do that. It's the ID thing after 9/11. So what it is, and when we get into some conspiracy theories one day, but it's like this. All right, I create a problem for you, and I give you the only way out. So I got you. So what I'm saying is, with 9/11, I want everyone to have a uniform ID card, not 50. So I say, and it's happening through Trump. Also, I say, if you're going to travel, if you're going to fly, because remember now, that's federal. because you flying interstate and international. That's federal.
Mm-hmm.
So to get on this plane, you got to have a form of ID that is recognized nationally. Because what the states has done, whether it, conspiracy mind, whether it was intentional or not, they are giving what do you call them, illegal immigrants ID cards and driver's license without them speaking English or anything like that. So Trump is saying, if you want to fly a plane, I'm gonna get you on this. He says, I'm gonna make it where you have to follow. It's called I think it's called a new ID or whatever. It's a national
Yeah.
ID thing. Everybody got it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they raise it $45 if you don't have one. You
Yes,
got to pay a $45 fee
right.
or
So
fine or something like that.
right. But even worse, if you're on a plane and you're flying international, it goes up to the hundreds. Especially you're a couple. All right. Now you can bring your passport or something that's that is federal. But if you don't bring one of these ID cards from these states that they don't use the the new ID, that goes into what us conservatives were fighting against. But they got us at the 9/11. You see what I'm saying? They got the conservatives because they was gung ho. Let's go fight the Taliban. Let's go fight Iraq. They gave them red meat. And they turned right around. They did it through a Republican who was supposed to be conservative in that. Now they got a Republican in there. And now, if they can get to nationalize the elections, that is the opposite of conservatives.
Right.
But I tell people,
why you think Trump want that?
he's not as conservative. Trump's not a conservative.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
He's a populist. All right. One thing, the reason he wanted is because the reason Tulsi Gabbard is in Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County, is because he believed they stole the election. So apparently he said for the 15 Republican states, they should take over the elections, the federal government. Now, if it's a red state, they already have the elections. But what he's saying is even more so. There are, I think it's 20 states in the United States. I had to look it up, that do not require any ID for voting. Think about that.
Now, I kind of agree with having a standard,
I agree having a standard.
Yeah, but I mean a universal standard.
I have no problem.
Yeah. So what?
But what the problem is, not just the standard, but the enforcement. When all 50 states are run by the federal government, I'm a Democrat. Remember now, I'm in power. What could have gone on for the 2020 election is like this. I don't know if you remember, especially in Fulton County, they was going late. It was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. They said we're shutting down. We're not counting anymore. We're telling you, and they put up those cardboard paper or whatever, so the reporters couldn't see.
Right.
But then at 3 o'clock in the morning, they did a data dump, and Biden won. But it was counting going on after that. You could see them counting, but they held it up so you couldn't see it. And they say, "Oh, don't worry about that. Nothing to see here." So I don't have a problem with a standard. I have a problem with one person or the administration having so much influence over the elections. It gives me the power, if I'm the president, to cheat. That's what I'm saying. And how you investigate me now? Because I took away your power. Say you're a governor of a state. The federal government, like he's doing now, can come in and get you because there's a separate power investigating another power. But when I investigate myself, I'm gonna miss some things. You know what I'm saying? I'm deliberately.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. All right. But yeah, I seem like everybody should be able to get on the same page with
yeah.
the requirements for voting.
Right. Well, again, yeah, and you do that through the carrot and the stick with a standard. Like, again, I said, generally most states, except for like pretty sure it's Arizona, got that unlimited highway. It's not in every highway in Arizona, but it's certain. It's middle of nowhere. But it's carrot and stick. I will give you funding for this, that, and other if you abide by, these standards. And I have no problem with that. Just like it's real ID. That's what it's called, real ID, where all states should follow these guidelines. In other words, 3 forms of ID. Okay, it got to be a bill. It got to be a letter addressed to you at this house. They want to know, and the state runs that, but it's in compliance with the federal guidelines.
Yeah, it kind of go. All right, if you let's just say, what if you don't have a house? What if you live on a bridge? You know what I'm saying? How does that work?
Okay, so
But I want to vote.
well, you got to have identifications to buy alcohol. You got to have. You got to.
I mean, the ID part is good, but if you put on there the bills or whatever, I mean, you might was just being, just throwing some stuff out
No.
there.
That's actually, you got to have. In other words, 3 forms of identification to get the real ID. I need to know what they're doing is, if you can bring a bill, that's an easy thing for someone to do. Okay.
Okay, that's just one of the.
That's just one.
Okay, I got
Yeah.
you. There could be anything that can prove that
Yeah.
you're you.
They got to be able to, go back to that location and find you. Believe it or not, when I was out there on the street, living under the bridge, there are certain things for food stamps and different things like that. You can get an identification, but generally they're not flying. They're not, saying they're not, they only do getting for services. But like I said, to vote, I have to look it up, but we can do that. I can do that while we still look at this video.
Yeah. Okay, that's why. Yeah,
All right.
I'm unfortunately we probably got about 30 minutes, but
Yeah.
but yeah, let's go ahead and dissect this video right here. That'll be
All right.
good.
If they do that, but we're hearing nothing about that. Look, my whole point about this is what
You can hear this, right?
Yeah, can you turn it up a little bit?
to go back to all of these ballots from 2020. Like, what was there new? They've been over this many, many times. So that's my first question. Then you come to the next question.
Can you hear now?
I can, but she now she's just lip syncing. I was hearing it, but she's gone. No, still can't hear.
Said if you
Now
just
she's back.
hand over your voter records to me, maybe ICE will go away.
Right.
Okay. Those are huge red flags to me. That there's going to be something going on with the midterm elections.
Yep. And by the way, that letter came out on Saturday, right? Saturday on the day Alex Preddy was shot. It came out right away. Because I remember Senator Chris Murphy came on with a letter. And it was, it was hours after that. It was an immediate reaction. Then you also have Marjorie Taylor Greene coming out. Okay, now you're entering this, and I guess this lays in with the Georgia situation. But calling the entire MAGA movement a big lie, which is pretty stunning when she was, one of the standard bearers for MAGA. Let me play it in full. I think people are realizing it was all a lie. It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really certain.
I'm just saying she's a big lie. That's what the problem is. She was a phony in the MAGA movement.
In this administration, who they're serving is their big donors. Those are the people that get the special favors, they get the government contracts, they get the pardons, or somebody they love, or one of their friends gets a pardon.
Yeah, well, surprise, surprise. But I think a lot of people, when they hear that, they're going to think, it's good she's saying it now. But honestly, maybe she was trying to be one of those people.
She was.
She got those special favors.
She
got
was.
those special opportunities, and then she got her hand smacked, and suddenly now she's kind of turned around. If she had been treated the way she wanted to be treated by Trump,
Exactly.
She's this stuff now. Don't forget, you're talking about somebody who was doing everything she could to get close to Trump and was spurned.
Yeah, but it was the Epstein files and her decision to support the survivors that had Trump turn against her. But I still believe that she is doing this. She went on an apology tour for being very, politically motivated with hate. And that she not be that way in the future. I think that she's going to run for governor in Georgia as more of a moderate. And I think some of this is political genius on her part. I also think that what she's talking about, it's not just big donors why MAGA should not be happy with Trump right now. He's getting us involved in overseas wars. They didn't want that. He's weaponizing his enemies. I'm not sure they voted for that. The economy is not doing well. I'm not sure they voted for that. There are a lot of other reasons why MAGA would be fractured right now.
But it's interesting, Van, people that want to see things a certain way will connect connect Marjorie Taylor Greene to Taylor Remick, who just won in Texas, to the races in New Jersey and Virginia and all those races, and they will say, well, there's something going on here, and this is all a big shift. In fact, SNL, which would be the a place where you.
That was it.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
what you got?
No, I was just the big thing was the nationalizing the election, just trying to get a better understanding of what that was.
Right.
And I can see pros and cons. Like I think we pretty much said that, you know.
Yeah.
If it's done right, it could be a good thing, make sure you got qualified voters out there, But if it's done wrong and it's the state, you don't want one political party having an advantage over another one.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We can avoid that. That would be good, Yeah. So everybody got these different rules and all that. They could come up with something that's fair and equitable for everybody. I don't see no problem with it. But like you say, oversight, you gotta have the right.
Got to.
You
And
gotta have the right oversight.
like I said, last year, Gavin Newsom and his California, and this what you got to understand, being fractured as a nation is a strength. All right. In other words, New York is New York, California is California. And that's why we have the Electoral College. California and New York cannot run the 50 states. Little Iowa, little South Dakota, Kansas get their say. They get 2 senators and however many representatives. They're not big as California in the House, but they get their say in the Senate to stop what the House, who is the bigger the state, the more representatives you can send. So with that, what I'm saying is, even though in California, with their law stating you cannot, as a poll worker, ask for an ID, it is illegal. So
that's insane to me.
It's very insane. So
yeah.
what would be the underlying reason for that?
Cheating.
Cheating.
Yeah, I mean, because I could just turn right around and vote somewhere else.
Go down the street to the next precinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And vote.
Yeah. With the mail-in ballots, they Trump said it. I've been saying it. 2020. If it wasn't stolen, it was definitely cheated on. They found people that had hundreds of ballots signed with the same handwriting. Strange. They do ballot dumps. All right. So at the ballot, it's a mailbox. At the ballot dump, you have a camera up there. People were upset, filed lawsuits for having the camera there because people got caught. You come in with 300 ballots from where? You know what I'm saying? This thing in Fulton, Georgia, they are really upset about, because it could have uncovered some really good stuff with the 2020 election. The ballots, it seemed like some of the ballots was printed too cleverly, or there was like, no creases, it was just perfect. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody handled them, printed right off, threw right in there. Then they got so bad. Go ahead.
Mention this here. We got so much technology, right?
Yes.
Could we today just scan his face, and then
that goes against conservatives, because then you got to do that's called biometrics.
Right.
Not everybody want to be in the system, because then as I'm walking down the road, you can once you scan me for my vote, you can scan me for anything. And say I went to a meeting with someone that is against the government, not committed a crime, but I don't want you to know that I'm investigating, the police department. I don't want you to know what I'm doing. So that's the problem. It's going to be abused.
Anything you got.
Yeah. So again, conservative, you got to get I always try to tell them you got to get past doing nothing because they want to go back to the 1800s, but you can't.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. We are in the 20th century. I do biometrics all the time, scanners at work and different things like that. But
Mm-hmm.
what they don't want it, and it's I don't know if you know, it's like when you let your information go out on Facebook, whatever, different ones. Uh, um, guess how they catch criminals? Okay, you go on 23andMe or one of these other DNA websites. Guess what? Your profile is for sale.
Yeah.
All right. The cops
Yeah.
come and they buy that profile because your cousin, they get Ernest Shaw profile, come to find out you're akin to someone who did something and they track him down because of what you did. Now, he never spit in the bottle or he never gave his DNA. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
conservatives are afraid of. The government would
Mm-hmm.
get too much power.
Gotcha. Yeah, but they don't feel there's too much power with a national ID
Yes, they do.
or real ID.
Yeah, they don't like that. They didn't like it in 2000. But remember, and this is conspiracy theory part. For me to get to conservatives to do something, I need a Republican in office to tell them why they need to do it. Whether that
Mm-hmm.
president really realized what he's doing or not. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
George Bush was pretty much controlled by Dick Cheney.
Mm-hmm.
And Dick Cheney ran a lot of different ops. Ronald Reagan, a lot of his programs were run by George Bush Sr.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But
Mm-hmm.
prior to CIA, he knew how to hide his fingerprints. Oh, I don't recall being in that meeting. Or I'm sorry, maybe I was out of town that day. I don't recall. So what I'm saying is conservatives like limited power. But what I'm saying is they got us because they let in 10 to 20 million illegals. So we got to go to real ID. You see what I'm saying? You're darned if you do, if you darned if you don't. Because if you don't get real ID going, you got these individuals around here up to 10 to 20 million that could be foreign agents, military, age men,
Yeah.
all that.
Real ID though ain't gonna work